Draymond Green's talking about an NBA championship. Meanwhile, the Warriors still have to make the playoffs. It is one step at a time, but this has been a step in the right direction. Why Draymond's words, not the craziest things I've ever heard. We're going to break it down.
Who cares now? Because I'm here, and I would like to think that I am wanted here.
Most importantly, he a dog.
We got 4 championships.
You are Locked On Warriors.
I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
Your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Speculation is just what it is, though.
Your team every day.
His words are not crazy because it takes a crazy person to hear crazy and just roll with it. Golden State Warriors winning the NBA championship per Draymond Green. He doubled down. We're getting into that. We're getting in the return to Oracle Arena in Oakland. Media Day was there. It was awesome stuff. Some of the words that we heard from the players that returned there, Kevin Durant, James Harden, and of course, Steph Curry. That's coming up on today's show. One step at a time while the Warriors still have to make the playoffs before we start talking about potential NBA championships. And Brandin Podziemski and Buddy Hield, why the minutes are leaning towards Brandon, but why Buddy can still have a role on this year's team. What's going on, everyone? My name's Charlie Walter. This is Locked On Warriors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Ways that you can check out the show. YouTube, if you're watching us right now on YouTube, it is good to see you. Give us the thumbs up. Subscribe to the show. We love having you as a part of the channel. You can also take us on the go wherever you get your audio podcasts. I'm on Instagram at CWalter22 and on Twitter, I believe at CWalter22. It's been a minute. I'm not a tweeter guy. I'm not a tweeter guy. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes of today's show. Right after I tell you that we do have a free daily newsletter sent to your inbox, lockedondaily.com, that'll have news, notes, nuggets, and all the information that you need surrounding the Warriors and a link to this podcast. Let's start with the return to Oracle Arena. I've already given you my opinion on the All-Star game. The game itself, basura. I did not think it was good, at least good TV. In person, watching Steph Curry drill half-court shots and win the MVP, electric. On TV, watching Steph Curry win the MVP, electric. Everything else, the 3 hours of commercial breaks and the 22 minutes of basketball, the 15-minute monologues in between with Mr. Beast coming out, putting on a performance, just wasn't a huge fan of it. And the All-Star game, it's not really good in any of the leagues. We're a competitive society, and when you are not giving your all and the game is deemed as meaningless, then it's kind of like, what's the point? In the past, sure. Now, there's just too many things to do. I was telling you guys last night, like Severance was calling my name. I was in a great episode in season 2 and needed to keep the mojo going. And the game drew me in. But for whatever reason, it does seem like the game, to me, has just been boring for a minute. And it's not that much different of a game. It doesn't matter the tournament style that they do, whether it's East versus West, whether it's the old-fashioned you get a guy, I get a guy type game. It just hits different, Iverson, T-Mac, Vince Carter, Kobe, Jordan, like that year, that was my prime of NBA All-Star games. It probably sucked. They probably weren't going very hard. Hell, I remember Jordan just coasting his way to the bucket every single time. But for whatever reason, it did feel different. A lot of it, like I said, just has to do with the age. We got the cell phones, a lot more things to do. And then a lot of it may just have to do with the age. I was a kid when I was watching those games. Now I'm a grown man, and I realize that there are a lot better games and a lot better things than the NBA All-Star game. But the weekend itself was great for the Bay Area, and it had its storylines. And my favorite storyline the entire weekend was the return to Oracle, the nostalgia and the aura in that building. Oh, baby. First of all, let's start with James Harden. He comes in and basically says that arena still gives him hell. Talked about how the Golden State Warriors changed the way that we play basketball, and everyone was every team was building their team to try and find weaknesses or try and find strengths that they can utilize, that they can, what's the word I'm looking for here? That they can just, they can destroy the other team's strengths. Let's put it that way. And Harden was basically saying that's how they put those Rockets teams together to take down Golden State. No matter what, they could never get past them. And whenever they had a run to the title, it always went through Oracle Arena. And he still gets nightmares from watching some of those highlights and being back in that arena. Kevin Durant said he loved being back. Talked about the Dub Nation as a whole. He's like, everywhere I go, doesn't matter whether it's overseas, Dub Nation is always there. And I mean, it's a massive fan base in sports, no doubt about it. And this is a good time to tell you to subscribe to the show to join about 16,000 other Golden State Warriors fans in this Locked On Warriors community. But we saved the best for last. Steph Curry. Curry said he would love to play another game at Oracle Arena. That is a tease. The man says he would love to do something. It is going to happen eventually. If it's allowed to happen, and I don't see why it couldn't. I mean, hell, we had games moved all the time back in the day, huge games, playoff series. We all know this. So sometimes when your game's booked, by someone else. But just the nostalgia in that building, I think it would be unreal for the Warriors to play another game in that arena. His last game would be insane, but Oracle just hit different. Everyone knows this. And you'd like to think it was because when you have a dynasty and you have that edge energy of a team that's so damn good, you get that as a fan. We know we're going to get a show, so buckle up. We're on the edge of our seats the entire time. But Oracle was popping well before that. Well before spring of 2007, but spring of 2007, Oracle, baby. We believe it was game 4, I believe. Baron Davis against the Mavs in the first round, pulled up from 2 feet inside the 3-point line. And that was, I mean, first of all, Baron Davis, Jason Terry's father. Secondly, that was the loudest I have ever heard an arena. Maybe it was just the microphones amplifying that day, but it was insanity. Then the last game against the Clippers in that arena, what a show the Dubs put on with Durant, with Clay, with Steph Curry. I mean, I think they had DeMarcus Cousins. They did have DeMarcus Cousins on that team knocking down threes. I mean, that was something. And to be back in Oracle and to have all the All-Stars there checking it out, it's nostalgia, man. It's the nostalgia factor, seeing the champs, seeing the MVP the All-Star game at Chase the next day, back in the home that he's going to have a statue outside of, going to have a statue outside of a lot of places in the Bay Area, I would imagine, at some point in time. Let's continue the show, though. Vibes are back. Vibes are so big. And right now, Draymond Green says he can feel the shift. Since Jimmy Butler got to the Bay Area, they've gotten a jolt. They've gotten a spark plug from Jimmy. They're back. Warriors are back. But I'm talking back in terms of getting the 6th seed, right? Fighting for the playoffs. Draymond Green he got way ahead of his skis. He's not staying right flat on his ski. He got way ahead of his skis. He says the Golden State Warriors are winning the NBA championship. The details and the reaction to that is coming up on Locked On Warriors.
And most importantly, he a dog.
We need more dogs.
All right, today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at TurboTax. Let me tell you about TurboTax. This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back. Now Taxes is waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. Anticlimactic. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. Also, you can get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. This is Taxes. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service, real-time updates, only an iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. All right, let's get back to our show.
Destroy Jimmy and Domino's. I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
All right, So we've talked so much about vibes. It was very important, the Warriors getting out to the 12-3 start that they got out to. They went on the team trip, the camp to Hawaii. They built the chemistry. That was a word that was said out of the gate. We saw the tone and the precedent being set by the veterans, Steph Curry and Draymond Green, with the way they were playing in the preseason. I mean, anyone that remembers that game where they knocked down, I believe it was 27 threes against Sacramento, you remember the tone was set early in that game. That was no fluke. They were playing like that was game 4 of the Western Conference semis. I mean, it was something to watch. But Draymond on the TNT broadcast set with Vince Carter, Candace Parker, and Adam Lefkoe surrounding him, he's getting pestered a little bit. And he just says it. He says flat out, I think we can win a championship. And then he says, I lied. We will win the NBA championship. He looked dead into that camera with a sea of Dub Nation behind him inside outside the confines of Thrive City, and said the Warriors are winning an NBA championship this season. Now, that is the definition of getting ahead of your skis. The Warriors right now don't look the part of an NBA champion. They look the part of a play-in team. They're 28-27. They are 3.5 games back of making the playoffs as the 6th seed. And they are 1.5 games up on the Phoenix Suns just to make the play-in and have a chance to win an NBA championship as a whole. But Draymond Green did say that it feels a little bit different, that this team has found their way since Jimmy Butler has been thrown into the fold. If we know one thing about Draymond Green, it's that he has experience winning and winning a lot. So he knows what a championship team looks like. And I don't think he would go out there and, I mean, I'm sure he's done it in the past, but how many stone cold guarantees has he thrown out on a team that's 500, a game above 500? I can't imagine he's done it. I remember the 22-23 team where the Warriors they were all right? They beat the Kings in the first round. It was they 5 or 6 seed that year. Either way, they were a road dog in the first round of the NBA playoffs. And I don't think he said a word all year about them being title contenders. He just kind of shut his mouth and said, yeah, I mean, they did start to pick it up a little bit, you know, him and Klay Thompson when Curry went for 50 in that game against the Sacramento Kings, game 7. And they all said, like, are you really going to doubt a champion? And may have given those subliminal messages there. But in terms of actually coming out and flat out saying straight into the camera, we're winning an NBA championship, I don't know how many times he's done it. Chat, you can help me out with that. You may have the counter over under 2.5. I'd probably take the over. But anyways, I'm wondering, like, is it just looking at 2 superstars, Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry, saying, hey, everyone else is going to fall in line. I'm going to take care of everyone else, and these 2 are going to lead us to the promised land? Is that what he's kind of doing here? Thinks Steph and Jimmy's going to be an invincible tag team together? It kind of reminds me of a story that Lorenzo Neal told me, the should-be Hall of Fame fullback, one of the best ever. You can hear him on 95.7 The Game in the Bay Area, former co-host of mine, and told me a story of Mike Silver, Bay Area guy, Bay Area reporter. It's a great one, right? He said that they all went to a bar one night, and it was Lorenzo Neal, it was Chuck Liddell, it was Ray Lewis, and it was Michael Phelps. Ray Lewis, Michael Phelps, Chuck Liddell, Lorenzo Neal, and Mike Silver. And Lorenzo Neal said Mike Silver would have said anything that night. He felt very confident out there. That's how I kind of feel with Draymond right now. He sees these 2 guys in the way that they can lead a team in different ways, right? Opposites attract in different ways, and says, oh, we're getting everyone in line here and we're riding these coattails to an NBA championship. Because he even said this is no big 3. He basically said, like, it's Jimmy, it's Steph, and it's everyone else. I'm here to fall in line and help this team, help, ride these guys to an NBA championship. Now to the schedule. No one loves schedule podcasting. Look, it's NBA All-Star game. We got 4 days to figure out content before our next basketball game. Schedule's an easy one, but we're not going up and down, picking win, lose, whatever it may be. That's terrible radio. Instead, we look at it this way. It's better go now time. There's 27 games, no time for ironing things out. You're 3.5 games in the hole. You got to start winning and winning a lot. The good news is the schedule is favorable. Only 9 of the 27 remaining games are against top 6 teams in the West or the East. That means 18 games are against play-in teams or worse. So this is essentially an extended play-in. Draymond Green even said it. He said, like, these next 27 games, we're treating it like the playoffs or an extended play-in, whichever works. But you're going to have your chances to jump coming up here because there are a lot of teams that you're fighting for in terms of seeding that you will be playing head-to-head, specifically later on in the season. Like the last game of the year is against the LA Clippers. Put yourself in a position where you're a half game back and bam, you go into the final day of the regular season and all of a sudden you feel like the We Believe Warriors, right? Sneaking into the playoffs at the very end. Now it's different, obviously, with the play-in, but playoffs, 6 seed, that's what they're fighting for. Live to see another day. So this is your play-in tournament. Beat the teams you're supposed to beat. If you do that, then the Warriors are good. No more slipping up to the Nets. You can't lose a 17-point lead to the Spurs. You better not lose to the Raptors again. You better beat Miami in that revenge game. The Warriors have a lot of winnable games on this schedule. But they lost those same winnable games 2 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 2 months ago. They've lost a lot of these games. Now, that was before Jimmy Butler. He clearly makes a huge difference. He brings an it factor to this team, and we're going to talk about the play of Brandin Podziemski and Buddy Hield coming up, and I think Jimmy Butler's addition affects those two in a positive way tremendously with the gravity that Butler brings specifically in the paint area where he can free those two up for three-point shots. But the Warriors better start winning right now. It's as simple as that. And to Draymond Green, who says that the Warriors are winning an NBA championship, kudos. I respect that. I want someone to go out there on national TV and give it to him. And Steph kind of said the same thing, but at the same time, he went from, I love someone that has that much confidence. It's Draymond. And then right after that sentence followed it up with, but he gave the old, but we still got a lot of work to do in figuring this thing out. So there's work to be done. That work just has to be done now over these next 27 games. Get yourself into the playoffs. Give yourself a chance. And if you do that, you'll have Jonathan Kuminga back. This team will look completely different. And I promise you, they will have the talent to compete with just about anyone in the Western Conference. Jimmy Butler changed a lot of things for this team. We are going to continue that conversation coming up later this week. But let's transition to Buddy Hield and Brandin Podziemski, the shooting guard spot. What do we think of the shooting guards? Who's going to be getting the minutes moving forward? According to Steve Kerr, it sounds like it's Pod's job to lose, at least for now. Let's discuss on the Locked On Warriors.
Forget that. We champs. Why are you starting with that question? We got 4 championships.
All right, today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Hungryroot. If you've never heard of Hungryroot, now is the time to listen in. When it comes to grocery shopping and meal planning, I've had this ongoing problem. I just don't have the time. Between work, life, and trying to eat healthier, I was constantly feeling stressed out. I'd go to the grocery store, I'd buy things I didn't need, and then I'd end up with no time to actually cook, sticking to the health goals. That is a struggle too. And the wallet would take a hit because you throw some of that food away, it goes bad. But everything changed when I discovered Hungryroot. Honestly, it's been a game changer. It's the easiest way to eat healthy without all the stress. With Hungryroot, it's like having a personal shopper and nutritionist all in one. They take care of my grocery shopping, recommend meals and groceries based on my taste and health goals, from anti-inflammatory, high-protein, gluten-free options. And the best part, every meal is ready in less than 15 minutes. I'm talking quick, healthy meals that actually taste great, all delivered straight to my door. It'll make healthy eating a lot easier for you. And if you love it as much as I do, get the benefits from it. 40% off your first box and a free item in every box for life. Just go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA. That's hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Code LockedOnNBA to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Code LockedOnNBA. Do not miss out.
Who can stop Steph Curry?
Hopefully we'll never find out.
All right, we'll get to some of the comments in just a little bit, but I do want to start with the Buddy and Brandin Podziemski shooting guard talk. I actually got into watching some Brandin Podziemski tape today. YouTube name, got to shout him out. Warriors Breakdown, good page. Shouts to him, knows his stuff, and gave me a lot of nuggets to work with. And he broke down the Rockets game before the break. And the everydayers, the ones, those of you that listen to the show every single day and that are in the chat right now, you know I'm high on pods. I've been high on pods since the summer. Now the highness fell down a little. It fell down a couple notches after he really struggled shooting the basketball. I mean, we're talking 20-something%. He looked like Gary Payton out there to start the season. When Pods looks like Gary Payton shooting the basketball, he's not as good defensively. Therefore, he's worse than Gary Payton. But when he can hit shots and space the floor, he is a game changer. And not only that, he's been playing very good two-way basketball. I'm high on Pods. Let's tell you what we saw. He's pesky as hell on defense. Solid hands. We saw on a breakdown off a brush screen against the Rockets. It was Jalen Green who got downhill. He's got Draymond Green collapsing on him, and Jimmy Butler's watching behind Draymond Green to make sure that they get no easy dump down layup. And because of that, Jalen Green kind of hesitates, pulls the ball back just a little bit, and Pods, who got tied up in the screen, is right there to just slap it away. Takes it away. Swiper. No. Swiper, swipe it. Why not? It's about time you swipe it. Same game. He has a peel switch, jumps the passing lane, and it just again goes to his instincts. We've talked about good defensive instincts and good team defense. The question has always been like on ball. How good of an on ball defender can he be just because of his God-given talents? He's scrappy out there. Biggest cliche ever. But I mean, that's just defensively, like he is who he is to a certain point. He's always going to be one of those overachievers on the defensive end. But offensively, we've seen a lot from Pods lately offensively. Coming off a career outing against the Houston Rockets, he was excellent. There was a play where he came off a curl, has Steven Adams in the lane, dribbling with his right hand, and he can make a move on Adams, try to go left, lay it up and in. He could try to float it over the top of Adams. Instead, just kind of stops, pops, and buries it. And that's now part of his repertoire because from 10 to 16 feet, and this is important, he's shooting 51% from the floor. That is dangerous to have Pods in a good mid-range game because he can get to that shot. And he will benefit off the additional gravity that Butler brings to the table in the paint. We saw him command triple teams at time. The defense sagging off the three-point shooters, one of them being Pods, to go help out with Jimmy in the paint. And then Jimmy kicks it out to Pods, and Pods has some moves that he can do. Another one that he has is that unique ability to decelerate, almost look like he's taken 13 steps before he gets hammered. It's that Pinoy step, the pivot foot magician, the mini Manu that I've been talking about. That's what we see in Pods, and we like it. And he has been slumping from deep a little bit the last 3 games, but he was red hot before that. And I think we've seen a large enough sample size dating back to his Santa Clara days to know that he's not a 20% three-point shooter. He's high 30s. That is his game. He can shoot. He can help this team. Very solid. A very solid two-way game against the Houston Rockets. But Buddy Hield is the guy that was getting more minutes than Brandin Podziemski as of 2 games ago. Most of the minutes went to Pods, 30+, while Buddy Hield got just 14. And Steve Kerr said after the Rockets win that Brandin Podziemski was going to be getting more time, basically hinting that that starting shooting guard job is his as of right now. But Buddy is still going to get his minutes. I don't think that Steve Kerr is going to DNP him. What I do think he needs to do is use Buddy Hield differently. I think Jimmy, like I just said with Pods and the gravity that he commands in the paint, I think he takes some pressure off Buddy a little bit, and they need to use him as a specialist. Minutes-wise, it can change every single game. But what Buddy needs to give you is that Kyle Korver treatment. Treat him like Kyle Korver. Get him free looks, have him bury shots, and more importantly, when you bring him in the game, He's a decoy because he commands his own gravity. Someone's got to be out on Buddy at all time. Can you imagine a lineup with Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler? Let's go Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Jonathan Kuminga, and Buddy Hield. Small, yes. Do you want to do it for large spurts? No. But it'd be dynamic. You got Butler getting downhill, Draymond Green getting downhill. You got Curry doing everything that Curry brings to the table, along with Jonathan Kuminga. Oh, getting downhill. And then the kick-out opportunities from all. Butler, a great willing passer. Draymond Green, one of the best to ever do it. And Buddy Hield would be the beneficiary off that. But if the three-point contest taught us anything, it's that Buddy Hield can still heat up with the best of them when he's standing still. He doesn't need to create off the dribble. He doesn't need to be taking the ball to the bucket multiple times a game. He doesn't need to be playing 32 minutes a night, getting switched on to Kyrie Irving or whoever it may be, and then not having fresh legs. Use him as a specialist. Don't be afraid to throw him out there for only 10 minutes a night and take advantage of those 10 minutes. X's and O's, possession by possession. And when Buddy Hield is in the game, use him as an advantage. So once Kuminga returns, I do think Buddy's going to have even a bigger role in terms of just being a sharpshooter. That's just my take on it. Buddy, the decoy, pick the spots to put him in. D will gravitate. And again, Buddy, the decoy. Let's get back to it. We got our guy, Ross Carpenter. He says the Warriors aren't winning the NBA championship. Of course, the Green Hornet, always in the chat. I want to know, I don't come at the chat very often. Not like past hosts on this show. However, this guy, Green Hornet, what the hell are you doing in a Warriors chat every single day, man? If you hate the Warriors, come on now. What are you doing in here? Good God. Yes, he comes here to hate. He takes solace in the world burning, and I don't understand it, but whatever it may be. We got V saying that Draymond just put a target on their back and that he's a moron. Hey, he's one of those guys that thrives with a chip on their shoulder. Go back to the 2022 Warriors. That was kind of the entire title run. It was like, no one believes we're getting this done. We're getting it done. What they going to say now? So we'll see. We got who else is popping in here tonight? What do we think about Kevin Knox from Vic? I like it in terms of him being someone that can help off the bench. We will see. But in terms of him being the best option that already knows the system, 100%. Who else are they going to bring in right now that's better than Kevin Knox and more equipped to play this style of offense than Knox? And he's a buy low option to where if for some reason he does, and not for some reason, it's very possible, he's 25. If it does work out and it's like, okay, this guy earned himself a little contract. I mean, we've seen it with Gary Payton. No one believed in Payton before he got to the Warriors. He's been a Warrior, two separate segments now. You know, they traded their former number 2 pick to get Gary Payton back. So maybe that's Knox, and he finds a home here. But a couple things that he does, he's a volume shooter. If he makes them, he's going to be very effective. He can catch and shoot. He can shoot off the dribble. He can get to the rim. He's big. He's big and plays a little stiff out there. Not the fastest guy in the world, but can get up and cram it. Has been rebounding a lot better, defending a lot better in the G League. We'll see how that translates over to the big show. But I'm excited to see Kevin Knox play. I mean, he's got a lot of talent for sure. And he's one of those players that if you put him out there in a certain game, and especially his first game as a Warrior, and let's say it's at Chase, and he buries the first couple of threes he gets, he's got like a mental motor, if that makes sense, to where the game comes easier to him when he's knocking down shots. And I'd say 99% of basketball players play that way, right? To where usually when your shots are going down, it opens up the rest of your game. But the question has always been like, can he play without the ball in his hands when he's, you know, not the focal point of an offense like he was at Kentucky? Can he be someone that affects the game from his defense, from his rebounding, from his cutting, from his screens, from those little minutia like details of the game that add up to be very important things? Or is he just going to be someone that when the ball's in his hands can go get you a bucket? But he can do that. and he loves getting himself a bucket. But I'm excited to see, man. He's talented. He is 1,000% talented. With all due respect to Jackson Rowe, I would much rather see Kevin Knox getting serious minutes than Jackson Rowe. So if you're comparing it to that, sure, I like it. Anyways, this is Locked On Warriors. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Matt Kolsky will be joining me in the next couple of days. He's sick right now. Wish him well in the comments. He will see that. We will also have Michael Loganoff on. And I have a buddy of mine that's popping on the show, Frank Michael Smith. He's a sports media personality. He gave a very good take about how the All-Star game can be changed for the better. I do want to get into that for a segment later this week. We got Trayce Jackson-Davis talk. He has been nowhere to be found as of late. I want to break down what exactly happened with Trayce Jackson-Davis and why he is not getting the minutes. But that is today's show. We will see you, everyone. Have a good Tuesday. Have a good Wednesday, Monday, whenever you're listening to this. Make sure it's a great day.